Today we'll make the camera animation that's chasing the light on a highway. Hi, my name is Dennis Zhilin. Open any map editor you like to customize your maps with. I will use this one. Select the Assassin's Creed 4 preset by Sarah Frisk. The colors in this preset are somewhat similar to what we are looking for. Find the spot on the map that you want to animate in After Effects. I will screenshot the area a bit south of San Francisco. Hit Alt print screen to make a screenshot. Then go to Photoshop, create a new file and select a clipboard preset. Paste the image by hitting Ctrl V. Go back to the map and grab a screenshot from the area a bit to the north from the previous one. We need to create a long line of land that goes from the south to the north. Paste it into Photoshop. Set the layers opacity to about 50 to make an image see-through. It will be easier to put it together this way. Once you've positioned it, return the opacity back to 100%. Go back to the map and grab one more screenshot that's a bit to the north. Return to the Photoshop, paste it, and align its position. If you're out of a canvas area, select the crop tool, that's C on the keyboard, and extend the canvas by grabbing it by the edge and dragging. Hit Enter once you've finished extending. Go back to the map and grab one more screenshot that you will paste into the Photoshop. This way, we will extend the map area until we screenshot all the map area we need. Once we've done importing the screenshots into Photoshop, it's time to clean the image. Create a new layer by going to a layer, new, layer, OK. Select the brush tool, or B on the keyboard, Alt-click on the area that represents the water to grab a color sample and brush all the areas that you don't need. You can change the brush size by hitting the square brackets buttons on your keyboard. Remove the leftovers near the edges by decreasing the canvas size. Save an image by hitting Ctrl-Alt-Shift-S combination. Use PNG24 preset, name it San Francisco Map. Hit OK. By the way, the project files from this and other tutorials are available on my Patreon page, along with a number of cool-looking templates that will speed up your workflow while increasing the quality of your videos. Maps animations, intros, titles, conversation animations, and much more. I constantly update the library and listen to your feedback on improvements and future updates. So join the club, there is a lot of cool stuff there. Once you're happy with your map, go to After Effects. Create a new composition. Name it The Chase. Set the resolution to 3840 by 2160, 24 fps, 30 seconds. Drop your map onto the timeline. Go to Layer, Precompose or Ctrl-Shift-C to precompose the map layer. Name it the Chase map. We are putting a map into a separate composition that has the dimensions of a map. It's going to be easier to animate it that way. Go to the Chase map composition. Select the map layer, Effects, Keying, Linear Color key. Pick the color of the water. Set matching tolerance to 0 and matching softness to 2%. We have removed the water. It's see-through now. And here I wanted to tell you how to make cool colors, but later on I found a better way of doing it. So here it is. Add Curves effect. Effect, Color Correction, Curves. And set the curve to something like this. After that, go to the Effects, Color Correction, Tint, and set the map white to 45BD-B4. Hit OK. It's time to draw a light line. Select the pen tool, G on the keyboard, set Fill to None, Stroke to Solid Color, set the stroke color to FF8E42. And stroke width to 7 pixels. Make sure no layers are selected. Start drawing your path by clicking the left mouse button. I'll start here at the very bottom and continue my way along the highway. It doesn't look smooth now, but that's okay, we'll fix it a bit later. Set the points where the road bends, so that when they smooth out, the curvature of the line would approximately repeat the curvature of the road. I will finish drawing my path by turning into suburbia, somewhere here. After you've finished drawing, right-click on any point, mask and shape path, roto Bezier. This made the line smooth. And now let's make our line follow the road more precisely by dragging the points and adding the new ones with the pen tool where necessary. Add as many points as you need to make the road look smooth. But don't be too generous with the points overall, because if you add too much of them, the path will look a bit wiggly. If you need to make a sharp turn like me, just add more points before and after the turn. In this case, don't worry to add the points. It will be okay. Name the layer the path. Let's add some glow to it. Select the path layer and go to the Effects, Stylize, Glow. Set the threshold to 61.2. Yes, this exact value. Glow radius to 8. Glow intensity to 1.9. Duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D. In Glow 2, set the glow radius to 28 and glow intensity to 1. Now duplicate the Glow 2. In Glow 3, set the glow radius to 62 and glow intensity to 0.8. Now the path is looking like a Christmas tree. It's time to animate the line. Let's begin with the animation of the end of the path. Unfold the path layer and go to Add, Trim Paths. In order to make a small portion of the light move along the path, we will animate both the start and the end of the path. Let's begin with the end. Go to 0 seconds on the timeline and set a keyframe for the end. Set it to 46. Then go to 9 seconds and set the end to 94. After that, go to 13 seconds and set the end to 100. We're setting the separate keyframes for the first and second parts of the animation, as we want the light to go really fast on the highway and slow down in suburbia. Select all the keyframes, then click right mouse button, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, or F9 on the keyboard to smooth them out. Then select the end and go to the graph editor to smooth out the path. It should look like this. Start and end very smooth. Now let's animate the start. Go to 0 seconds on the timeline and set a keyframe for the start. Set the start to 35. Now our long light path became shorter as we cut the beginning of it. Go to 11 seconds and set the start to 84. Then go to 18 seconds and set the start to 99.5. We want a tiny piece of light to remain at the very end of the animation sequence. Now let's make the end of our light path round. Go to Shape 1, Stroke, set the line cap to Round Cap, Line Join, Round Join. Select all the start keyframes and then click right mouse button, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, or F9 on a keyboard to smooth them out. Select the start and go to the graph editor. Make sure your graph mode is set to the Edit Speed graph. We need to maintain the length of the line path throughout the whole way. By adjusting the position of the keyframes and the line smoothness, we can change the light path length. Smooth out the line so that it looks like this. Now you can see that our light path starts fast and ends slowly. Let's taper the end of the line. Unfold the line layer, Shape 1, Stroke, Taper. Set the start length to 94% or 100. Now the light line has an orange head that gradually tapers into the red tail. Okay, now it's time to add the titles. We'll make them look like they're floating about the map. Go to the Chase composition, create a camera by going to the Layer, New, Camera. Select the 50mm preset. Make Chase Map a 3D layer. And create a new null object by going to Layer, New, Null Object. Make the null object a 3D layer by clicking on this switch. And parent the camera to the null by dragging this pick whip over the camera layer and release it. If you can see the parenting options, hit F4 on the keyboard to cycle through the modes. Name the null object Camera Controls. Now we will move the camera further away from the map so that we could see all of it. Select the Chase Map layer and hit P to open position controls. Set the Z coordinate to 4820. This will push the map back a bit. Select the Text tool. Set font to Bennett Display Bold and the size to 120 pixels. Drag the text tool over the preview area and type in the name of the areas of the map. I'll type in Fairmont, for example. Switch the layer into the 3D mode. Then select it and hit P. In a Z coordinate, type in 4200. This will elevate the text above the map and will make it look floating in space when the camera moves. I will reposition the anchor point to the center of the text layer purely for convenience. This script is available for free online. Turn off the visibility of the camera controls null, as we don't need it for now. Now let's make the text glow. Select the text layer and go to Effects, Stylize, Glow. Set the glow radius to 8. Glow intensity to 2. Duplicate the effect by hitting Ctrl D. In Glow 2, set the glow radius to 150 and glow intensity to 3. Okay, on the second thought, glow intensity 1 and glow radius 6 will be enough for the first instance of glow. Let's make the text a bit smaller by decreasing the font size to 60 pixels. Duplicate it by hitting the Ctrl D on the keyboard as many times as necessary to name all the areas that you want. You can change the font and its size if you want to. I've decreased the font size even more, down to 40 pixels. Once you're done with the text, it's time to animate the camera. It will start high in the sky and will go down to the map to chase this light to its final point. Go to 0 seconds on the timeline. Select the camera controls layer, transform. Set the keyframes for the position, X and Z rotation. In the position, enter 1371, 3730 and -10470. These are very rough coordinates just to have something to begin with. We will change them later anyway. Set the X rotation to 0 and Z rotation to 12. Go to 218 on a timeline, set the position to -199, 2752, 3300. X rotation 17, Z rotation -34. Well, it looked kinda okay in a preview project that I made, but clearly it doesn't fit here. So let's change it. Select all the keyframes while your playhead is located on any of the keyframes and change the position to something like that. It already looks a bit better. We need the playhead to remain on any existing keyframe, so that when we change the parameters of the position, for example, it doesn't create a new keyframe but rather change the existing one. Now let's play around with the positioning of individual keyframes, so that the camera smoothly descends down to the road and follows the light while slightly changing its rotation. You can see all the position and rotation parameters here. I encourage you to go through this whole process together with me to get a deeper understanding of how it works and try to implement it in your camera animation. Because every camera you will ever animate in After Effects will require the very same principles applied to its animation in order to be smooth. Then go to 8 seconds on a timeline and move the camera so that it follows the light. There is no need in exact copying it right now because it will change many times throughout the camera animation process. But if you only need the position, scale and rotation values, you will find them in the end of this video together with the speed graphs. Throughout the whole animation process, we will try to follow the light path, so that it always remains somewhat in the center of the frame. Go to 17 seconds 16 frames on a timeline, set the position and rotation in a way so that camera looks straight down on the light. To achieve this, set the X and Z rotation really close to 0 value. Place the ocean view title in a way so that it does not obstruct the light path. Place the camera so that the light is somewhere in the center of the frame. Our very rough camera animation is ready. From now on, we will refine it and make it smoother bit by bit. We will do it like a sculptor carving the sculpture out of the stone. We will remove all the disproportions, camera janks, and weird motions that we will get from playing around with speed graphs. Bit by bit, small adjustments following by small adjustments. Turn on the visibility of the camera controls layer, so you could see its path and fix the issues. In the end, it will accumulate into something bigger, like an antique sculpture. You can also go to the different camera projections to see how the camera path looks like. Camera path should look smooth in all the projections. Select all the camera position keyframes, then right-click, Keyframe Interpolation, set Spatial Interpolation to Bezier. We need to do this so that we could manually control the curvature of the camera path. Make the path more wide and smooth. Now I switch to the front and then top projections to see if everything is okay with the path here. And as we can see, the portion of the path in the front projection is not so smooth. Although it looks smooth in the other projections, we'll smooth it out right now. This is why it's important to look through all the projections and check the camera animation path for smoothness. From now on, I will switch between the projections and smooth out everything that doesn't look smooth. Sometimes when you smooth out the path in one projection, it might become janky in another one. That's why you have to go through all the projections for a few times to make sure the path is smooth in all of them after all the adjustments that you've made. Looks better now, but still it's not perfect. Sometimes you will need to change the position of a keyframe for the path to work, like I do it here. We can see that the camera is dipping here, and I don't like it. We need to fix that. Now let's smooth out the keyframes. Select the keyframe, right mouse button click, Easy Ease In. Select the position and go to the graph editor. Make sure your graph mode is set to edit speed graph. And now, roughly, make the animation curves look smooth. You don't even need to look at the camera animation itself, just visually smooth out all the lines. Now the camera looks much smoother. If you have doubts about where the problem of the camera smoothness is, here's a trick for you. You can temporarily delete all the keyframes that you think are not the ones to blame, like I do it here with all the rotation frames. I scrub through the animation and come to understanding that position looks fine, and the issue is with the rotation. Then I hit Ctrl Z to return the keyframes. But be very careful with this move, as if you change anything while the keyframes are deleted, you will not be able to return them by hitting Ctrl Z. You can use the Ctrl X combination to cut the keyframes instead, so you can put them back even if you change something. That's a bit safer. Now let's smooth out the rotation keyframes. Select the X rotation keyframe and go to the graph editor. Again, smooth out all the lines without looking at the preview window. For now, we just need to make the lines look smooth. Here's how the animation looks, and we didn't even look into the preview window. We'll do the same with the Z rotation. Smooth it out. Okay, I don't quite like how the beginning of the animation looks. We can make it better. Put the camera a bit closer to the map on the second keyframe and change the Z rotation to another side. I also play around with the X rotation so the map doesn't look weirdly skewed. It looks really skewed if the X rotation value is too high, so I decrease it. While you're smoothing out the keyframes in a graph editor, you can accidentally move them so that they are all over the place when you take a look at the timeline afterwards. You can just return the keyframes to their original place if you need to, but be careful because sometimes it might break the smoothness of your animation. In general, just play around and see if it works for you. Let's put the camera down a bit. Here, I've noticed that camera doesn't look at the light path while going down, and I'm about to fix it by expanding the peak of the X rotation and placing the camera a bit to the bottom of the map. Now, I follow our main objective, make the camera look at the light path all the time. And I'm trying to do it by tinkering with the speed graph lines. Wherever you see the peak, this means that camera goes fast here, and wherever it goes down, it means that it slows down there. By shifting this speed peak, I try to find the moment where the position and both of the rotations work well together, meaning we see the light path. Camera is still dipping really hard here. We will leave it for now and fix it a bit later. Now we're trying to make all the position, X and Z rotation work together so that the camera overall looks quite smooth and looks at the light path. Here I'm trying out different combination of values and smoothness for each parameter, so that they combine into one smooth camera movement. It doesn't always work from the beginning, but by fixing it bit by bit, you will get closer to the desired result. Just don't forget to keep everything as smooth as possible. Also, don't forget to check your animation in different projections, as it might break during the tinkering process. This camera dip is the hardest part of this animation, but in the end we'll make it look buttery smooth. Sometimes, while smoothing out the camera, you might become confused in what's wrong with the movement and what exactly you need to fix. If this happens, try to isolate the position, X and Z rotations in your head. Here's how. If there's a camera jank to the right, left, up or down, this means that something is wrong with the position. If the camera tilts in a weird way, this means you have to fix the X position. And if it rotates, you're right, the Z rotation is to blame. Sometimes it's the combination of all of them. In this case, choose the most prominent one and start fixing with that one. Once it's fixed, move down to the next prominent one, and so on. Of course, it's easier said than done, and this approach needs practice to be used quickly. But overall, it will save you hours of fixing the camera animations and tons of anxiety from broken deadlines. I don't like the positioning of the text. I select all of the text layers, open the position by hitting P on the keyboard and decreasing the Z value. Now, after so much tinkering, finally, I've managed to make a camera path look somewhat smooth. But the camera goes back down at the end, and I want it to go up, so I just move the camera back at the last frame. Now we just cycle through the speed graphs of position, X and Z rotations and smooth out them in turns. When you smooth out the position, for example, it will most likely break the smoothness of the X and Z rotation. So after fixing the position, go to the X rotation and smooth it out, then go to the Z rotation and smooth it out too. This, in turn, will likely break the smoothness of position, but this time less dramatically. By repeating this process again and again, you will be able to eliminate this breaking problem gradually. You will find the balance between the position, X and Z rotations animations, so that they look smooth and pleasant. The same is true for the null object position path throughout different views. Fix it in the front view, then go to the left view, fix it there, then go to the custom view if needed, and so on. This is like a whack-a-mole game, where you must fix the problem that's constantly running away from you. From now on, the path looks really good, and we'll just smooth it out to the max, removing all the minor issues. If you're okay with this result, you can leave it just like that. And in majority of cases, it will work. But if you want it to look perfectly smooth, you have to do a little bit more work. By the way, if you want your animation to look smooth, turn the motion blur on. Select all the layers and turn the motion blur on here. This will make everything look really smooth, but it will take its toll on rendering time, so if you want your video to render really fast, you can skip this step. Now let's add the textures that will make our map look way more fancy. I've got these papyrus textures that I've generated with Adobe Firefly. They work really well as a paper simulation. You can easily create your own using the papyrus paper prompt. By the way, this texture is already included in the project file for all my Patreon subscribers. So, drag and drop the texture onto the timeline. Switch the mode to overlay. Turn on the motion blur and 3D switch. Copy the position from the chase map by hitting Ctrl+C and paste it into the texture layer by hitting Ctrl+V. Rotate it so it's diagonal and place it on the left side of the frame. Duplicate it and place it on the right side. Now the water looks gray and we want to use another color. Hit Ctrl+Y to create a new solid. Name it BG and change the color to 000A12. Place it on the very bottom. If you want to change the background color in the future, go to the effects track and find the fill effect. Drop it onto the background layer. I'll choose this color for now. The textures look quite intense. Select both texture layers and hit T to open the opacity controls. Set the opacity to 50. Here's how it looks right now. Not bad. The map looks a bit empty. Let's add more location names to the map. Just duplicate the layers, place them into different places and give them other names. I will follow the real geographic names of San Francisco area. Now let's optimize the composition, as lots of the names make it render really slow. Select the layers that will not be visible after camera moves past them. I will mark them for convenience. And cut them by hitting the Alt and bracket combination on your keyboard. Repeat this for another titles that are not visible anymore. So, here's how my camera animation looks after all the tiny adjustments. Now it's buttery smooth. So here are my final keyframes for this camera animation. This is the position. This is the X rotation. And this is the Z rotation. The graphs looks like this for the position. This is for the X rotation. And this is for the Z rotation. And here's the final animation. You might also want to watch this tutorial where I show how to make maps like Johnny Harris.